you feel like you're behind in life. And I'll tell you right now that although that's not true, there are some good things and some bad things about that I need you to take inventory of. Because if you do not actually fully think through why you feel like you're behind in life and what that really means, then you can create some really, really unnecessarily painful events and just existence in your life that you just don't need. So let's break down why you feel like you're behind in life and what are some of the things that you can actually be doing about it to eliminate the negatives of this and actually harness all of the positive things that can actually come from that feeling that you have. So let's dive in. So, just because you feel like you're behind in life does not mean that you actually are. It's really just because your brain is running ancient psychological software that is exponentially painful in the modern world. So, this is really why almost everybody feels like they're behind in life right now. And here are some of the things that you can actually do about it. First things first, I want to make it clear that it's not all bad that you might feel like you're behind. There are some good things about that, but you need to manage your expectations and you need to understand what I'm about to go over. The first reason that people feel so behind in life is because of this concept called social comparison theory. So there was a psychologist named Leon Festinger who showed that humans measure their worth by comparing with others and not by objective reality. Just naturally, this is what occurs. So social media now will intensify this by a lot because we see everyone else's highlights, we compare them to our normal days, and our brains interpret that as if we're doing something wrong or as if we're failing. So this little graphic up here, right? It has our life satisfaction going down with Facebook use. Facebook use ending in some sort of negative social comparison, whether that's the self-perceived social competence or your self-perceived physical appearance. And obviously for men and women, right, those two things can be more intense on both sides. So anyways, let's talk about the actual experiment that happened and how we got here and how we realized that this was a real thing. So there was a series of social comparison experiments that happened in 1954 where Leon Festinger found that people constantly evaluate themselves relative to others, not to objective standards. So the famous finding was that participants placed in a room with more attractive or more successful seeming people rated themselves significantly lower on confidence and life satisfaction. So the real life meaning of this is that being around achievers or seeing them online, right, digitally putting yourself around these people lowers your sense of progress, even if nothing actually changed in your real life. So you could be living an incredible life. You could be living a rock star life. But if you just see everywhere you go people that are living 10 times more lavishly or happily than you, then you're still going to feel like you're behind or that you're doing something wrong. Okay, so it's really important that we think about who are we surrounding ourselves with and how are they really moving? Because the truth is, and I had a conversation with someone about this today, there are people out there who are successful and there are people out there who are loud. Okay. And sometimes they're both, but sometimes they're just loud. And sometimes they're loud about their success. But you don't have to be loud about your success. You can just be successful. I mean, a lot of the wealthiest and just most happy, even people in the world, you'll never know. And they'll never tell you that because it's a really weird thing to go up to someone and say, hey, look at how happy I am. Right? Like that's the kind of weird thing to do. And so people are constantly doing that all day because now it's been normalized as socially acceptable behavior, but it's really not. Okay. So for you to accept that as socially normal by letting that into your life through your digital interactions is really, 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 really bad for you. We'll talk about ways to prevent this moving forward. There was another experiment that was done by Wills in 1981, where participants exposed to people doing better than them experienced lower self-esteem, higher anxiety, increased feelings of inadequacy. And participants exposed to people doing worse actually felt better. So the real life meaning here is that when you scroll social media, you're forced you're doing forced upward comparison or downward comparison, which is scientifically proven to make you feel either behind or like you're doing better. So, social comparison theory also has this concept of upward and downward comparison. So, if you have an upward comparison that is negative, then that results in what's called jealousy, right? So the graphic here says, it's not fair that my brother gets to go on so many amazing vacations each year and I don't. Now, if you see something that's positive, right, that's doing an upward comparison, and you have a positive, right, reaction to that, then that can be in the form of motivation. Okay, so my classmate got an A on the test, so I will study harder next time because I can do that too. And then you have downward comparison, where the negative response to that is going to be, oh, they're just lazy. They deserved whatever bad thing happened to them, right? Or a downward comparison that is a positive reaction would be, well, things could be way worse. So actually, I'm doing okay. So, anyways, just something to keep in mind that this is what's happening in your brain when you're comparing yourselves to others, which is naturally occurring at all times, anyways. So, you just have to be aware of this. And in what way are you reacting to the comparisons that you're making with people? I think this is extremely powerful information, but you let me know what you think in the comments down below because we are always doing this. And we are always feeling either positive or negative reactions to these comparisons that we're doing. It's naturally wired into our brains. So when you can choose to have these positive ways of looking at things, then not only does it just make you feel better and allow you to think a little bit nicer about yourself, but also it can propel you into seeking more of the things, the motivation, right, that you might want. It can put you around people, right? Because what happens is when you get around people who are doing really well and you're being negative and you're jealous of them, like they can feel that. They can feel that 100%. Okay. Or when you look down on people and you're like, oh, you're not as good as me. Like people can feel that. And you're actually spreading that into the world, right? That's the mojo that you're putting out. So it's really, really important. And this is not something that by the way, I am looking at this and I'm saying this is awesome information for me to practice as well. Okay. I think that this is really important that I say that because this is a constant grind and a constant battle. And it's not going to be overnight that you're just like, oh, fine, I'm good. I mean, hopefully it is actually. But you want to continue to remind yourself that you're constantly comparing yourself to others. And are you reacting positively to that? That's leading to motivation or gratitude for where you are in life and life satisfaction? Or are you going towards jealousy and actually being unsatisfied with yourself and others around you? So moving on. So another thing to think about with this is the choice of comparison objects. So people will generally compare individuals who share similar characteristics such as age, occupation, or hobbies with yourself. So such similarity in comparison naturally renders it more relevant and meaningful to you. So that is another thing to keep in mind. Who are you actually comparing yourself to? Whether that means because you're exposed to them all the time or because you've constantly decided, oh, this is who I'm comparing myself to. But like, be very selective with that if you're going to do it, right? Which we're going to do it. Be selective with how you look at that. Am I comparing myself to someone who's like 30 years older than me and trying to compare myself to their life who lived 30 years ago, right? Doing the things that they did when they were my age? Like, don't do that. Probably not a good idea. And in general, right? We obviously want to not really be comparing ourselves to other people, but we just want to be conscious of the fact that we are doing it anyways. And in that, give yourself the grace of recognizing that not everyone is going through the same things and that people are completely living totally different objective experiences. It's totally different. So another thing is emotional and behavioral consequences. So these comparisons can include feelings of pride, jealousy, or inspiration, and may lead to behaviors driven by self-enhancement or self-protection. Keep that in mind. Comparison-based appraisal. After making a comparison, people assess whether they are superior to the person that they compare themselves to, inferior to that person, or equal to that person. Okay. So this is what's happening on average all the time. Are you participating in this? And if so, can you stop yourself from doing it when you know it's not right? And if not, can you rationalize with yourself why you're comparing yourself to the wrong person? While you're feeling negatively when you shouldn't, and you should be feeling positively, okay? And things of that nature. So moving on, another thing, okay, that's working against you as far as like why you feel behind is called the availability heuristic. So your brain focuses on things that are outliers. It focuses on successful, exceptional, and usually fast achieving people and things, right? So your mind sees a 19-year-old millionaire and thinks that that's just normal. Why? Because you've seen it, and you've seen it over and over and over again. But it's just not normal. It's statistically not normal, and it's also just not qualitatively a normal thing. Now, This is going to be because what it leads to is the fact that you're ignoring tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people who are not bad. All you're seeing is the few instances of 19-year-old millionaires. And you're not seeing where they came from. You're not seeing what actually happened. You're just seeing the results. And we'll talk about that in a little bit too. So this creates a distorted sense of the timeline of success. And so this graphic right here perfectly describes the availability heuristic. And this applies to everything in life, by the way. This isn't just feeling behind or success or anything like that. So you over rely on information that's top of mind because it's recent, frequent, or stands out. So the amount of information available is the blue space, but the information used to make decisions is the little yellow space. Okay, and there's tons of different types of availability heuristics. Okay, just many different ways in which our brains will cherry pick information. A lot of it is cherry picked on negative things or highly positive things in either direction, but we'll keep moving on. So Tversky and Kahneman did an experiment in 1973. This is Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman. The book, I think we've already talked about this last time. The book here to read is Thinking Fast and Slow. And what they did is they did an experiment where they asked participants, are there more words starting with K or words with K as the third letter? And so even though the second is actually more common, most people chose the first because it comes to mind more easily, right? You're going to think kangaroo, Kit Kats, I don't know, bad one. Things like that. So the real life meaning of this is that your brain assumes something is more common or typical because it's easier to recall. Like 19-year-old millionaires, 25-year-old CEOs, or crypto success stories. The mind confuses visibility with frequency. The thing is you're not going to hear about the people that aren't successful. You don't hear about that. You don't hear about the countless failures. You don't hear about the countless failures that each of those successful people had to go through and how you haven't even done 1% of those failures yet. Let's be real. And so anyways, this was one of the probably hundreds of experiments that Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky did. And they went on to basically be Nobel Prize award-winning economists, right? So very, very successful work that they did. This changed the whole landscape of how we looked at modern psychology and how it relates to the way that we make decisions as human beings. But we aren't here to talk about that today. Now, another thing that happens and why you feel behind in life is something called a life script. So you're told things like you're supposed to be married by 25. Why don't you have a wife? Why don't you have a husband? What's going wrong? Why haven't you started having kids? You're supposed to have a house. Why don't you have a house? We had a house. I had my own apartment when I was 18. What are you doing? This and that. You're supposed to have your life figured out by now. You're like 30 years old, bro. Like, what's going on? And these scripts are simply designed for a world that no longer exists. And the thing about this is this actually comes into a concept called stationarity and the idea of non-stationarity. Non-stationarity is a property of a time series where its statistical properties such as mean and variance change over time. So the point of this is that stationarity is where you have a system, right, where you're trying to produce an outcome. And that system, in a stationary system, all of the variables in that system are actually constant. They don't change. Okay, but in a non-stationary system, those variables are constantly changing around. Okay, so you don't actually have a system that is the same every time. And that is life. That is the world that we live in. It is a non-stationary world where you can't say that, oh, I was 18 and I had my own car and I was in school and I had a job and I had my own apartment. You lived in a completely different world. Okay. And I'm talking to the young people who are trying to figure out their life right now, who are feeling like, why I think so hard, and their parents are not helping. Right. So I just wanted to point that specific example out, but this applies once again to many different aspects of your life. So non-stationarity, right, is really important in investing and in economics when you're thinking about, can you really produce the same output for the same input when the thing in between that, right, the function in between that is constantly changing? No, you cannot. So these life scripts become absolutely meaningless when you have to think about the fact that society is changing, you as an individual are just different, okay, and so on and so forth. But you have to keep in mind that, like, these are the things that are going on in your head because you've been told these things. You've been conditioned to believe these things. You're not supposed to live with your parents. You're not supposed to, not have kids because you don't have money. You're not supposed to, just all kinds of stuff, So, we're living in a different economy. There are different opportunities. There's different technology. There's different lifestyles. You're a different person. And the pressure, right, continues to remain regardless. So moving on, there's another thing called the spotlight effect that you have to watch out for. So people believe that others are judging their progress or age or milestones or appearance, but almost no one is really paying attention to you. Everyone is worried about their own timeline, and the brain exaggerates how much others really care. And I love this graphic because this is what we think is happening. We think that everyone is watching you and judging you, right? But they're not. They're actually all looking at themselves. Everyone is focusing on themselves and worrying about their own problems. You, and the way that you feel about all that's how everyone else feels. So like no one's paying attention to anyone else. So just do your thing. Now there was an actual experiment that was done for this. So Gilovich, Medvich, and Savitsky did the Barry Manilow T-shirt study. So participants wore an embarrassing T-shirt and walked into a room. They predicted that at least 50% of the people would notice. These are the participants, right? And then they realized that in reality, only 23% of people noticed. So half, right, of what you might even think is really occurring. And you think everyone's judging your timeline, achievements, or mistakes, but they aren't even looking. Like this is just a physical thing. Like literally, people are physically not looking at you. So they're definitely not thinking about you or worried about you. They've got their own stuff going on. Okay. So really important to recognize that. Don't let what other people think of you or what you think other people will think of you affect the decisions that you make. Okay. That's going to hold you back exponentially. And literally, people don't even care. They don't care, and you shouldn't care either because they don't care, and it doesn't matter. Do you want to be where you want to be, or are you worried about what other people think about where you want to be? Life is way too short. Moving on. We also have what's called the endowment effect. So we undervalue what we have because we are already used to it. So we stop seeing the value of the things that we already have. We only see the things that we don't have, and we want those things, and we value those things even more. So humans naturally believe that someone else's path, someone else's life is better than theirs. And our own experiences just don't count, even though our experiences have been fantastic. Your life, the fact that you're sitting here, you've got Wi-Fi, you're on social media, on YouTube specifically, like learning and trying to like improve yourself. That's awesome. There's people who just don't even have access to that kind of stuff. Gratitude, downward comparison, gratitude. Anyways, so we undervalue others and their successes because we only see their final results as well. We never see the struggles that they had to go through. Okay, we never saw that maybe their path was actually way worse. Maybe they're actually just like a bad person now. Maybe they just sacrificed everything to be where they are and they don't like themselves or their lives either. So just like things to think about. So there's a false uniqueness study that was done, which is where participants rated their own strengths and other people's strengths. They believed that their weaknesses were more normal and that their strengths were not unique or valuable, and other people's strengths were more impressive. Why? Because people are familiar with their own strengths. They saw their own growth up close, right? So when you see your progress up close, you don't really recognize it. It's just happening. And then you only saw other people's strengths from the outside. So this experiment shows that people feel behind because of this. Okay, this is a big part of why people feel behind. Another thing is hedonic adaptation. So even when people do make progress, you get a promotion, you make more money, you have some accomplishment of some sort, you're still going to quickly adapt. Your mind is constantly going to reset the goalposts and say, oh, but you should still be further. You made $1 million. Oh, but you should still have 10. You made $10 million. Oh, but you should still have 100 million. So what are you doing? You're way behind. Okay. Now, once again, this can be a bad thing, but this can also be a little bit of a good thing depending upon what you actually want for your life. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying this is all bad, but it's something that you have to be aware of. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself insane. Now, what does this actually look like? And what is this called? It's called the hedonic treadmill. So you have a desire, you strive for more, you obtain the thing, you enjoy it a little bit, then your mind adapts, and then you desire more again. And you just repeat this process over and over again. So this makes your progress seem invisible because you're constantly just doing the same thing over and over again, desiring more and more and more and more. This is naturally how your brain works. It's been studied and it's been proven over and over again. Now, the Brickman and Campbell study of 1971, the happiness set point study, compared lottery winners, paraplegics, and average people, and after a short time, everyone returned to their baseline happiness. The real life meaning of this is that even when you achieve major milestones, your brain will reset and say, you should be further. This makes progress invisible. So really what happened here, this was also in Thinking Fast and Slow, is that when people win the lottery, yes, they get a big spike of dopamine, their life is amazing, and then all of a sudden they come right back down to normal. Actually, this was in Sapiens. So another book here, Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari, I believe is his name. A lot of controversy around the book. I don't care. Read it. It's really good. It's one of my favorite books of all time. Cool. Now, what do you do about all of this? Step one, control your inputs. What are you comparing yourself to? Because you are. You are. So control your inputs. Your brain cannot beat comparison if you keep feeding it more and more comparison and comparing yourself to things that are just complete BS or whatever. So unfollow everyone who triggers I'm behind in your head. Just get rid of that. Okay, because it's not actually helping you. It's not actually giving you what you need to get to where you need to go. Sorry, but you're not. Wipe your feed clean is another thing that you can do. Just build from scratch. Just start new accounts, get rid of everything on those accounts, log out of those accounts, and create new ones. And curate your feed to not be about comparison, but about things that are actually going to help you get to where you want to go. Period. Now, remove short form content from your daily life. Honestly, if you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, you're scrolling for more than 30 minutes a day, get rid of it. It's not helping you. Those are business platforms. Those are platforms to grow your business. These are not platforms for you to be playing around on and wasting your time. Don't do it. Don't do it. Replace consumption with creation as well as another big thing that you can do. Now, you got to be careful about this because you don't want to overproduce and not consume anything. I'm stuck in that loop now. But like, think about it. One of the biggest things here is that you're so scared to produce and create stuff because you keep on comparing yourself to people who are out there creating stuff. Like, go create stuff and stop worrying about what other people are going to think about you creating stuff. And that's, once again, why you can just like start a new account. Start a new account and just start posting stuff about the things that you're curious about or that you care about the most. I promise you that one thing alone will change your life. That one thing alone can completely change everything for you. A lot of us have a lot more going on in our minds than we give ourselves credit for. This is why in the last episode we talked about celebrating your wins a little bit, because you need to recognize the things that you're actually really good at. And these are the things that you should be sharing with the world, not only because it is going to help other people, but also because it's going to help yourself. Okay, so get over the bull crap. Start a new account if you have to, because the thing is these social media platforms allow you to start brand new accounts right now and get crazy traction. That's on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I don't care. All of them are way, 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 way ripe for you to go out and start creating stuff. And you're not, because you're afraid of what other people are going to think of you. So just create a new account then. This comes down, once again, like if you're going to be on TikTok, do not be on there consuming stuff. Be on there producing stuff. Now, another thing you can do is just post on those same accounts. Like, it's kind of the point. Like, just use the following that you have already, right? Like, I just did it. I was like, oh, I could start a new account. Like, no, why would I do that? Just post on the accounts that you have. You're going to get traction. Eventually, you're going to start getting to the point like where I have, where people are like, oh, like, I love this. Oh, this is really cool. Like, oh, I haven't seen this before. This is awesome. And it's like, who cares if your friends think things of you? I promise you, like, you've got too much of a life to live to allow these people and their opinions to hold you back. And plus, they really don't care. Anyways, so think of this like rebooting a corrupted operating system. You can't fix the bugs without reinstalling the software. So be ready to just wipe everything clean and start over if you need to do that. But also be ready to just post on the accounts that you already have, but stop using them for consumption and get rid of all the BS on there, and or just stop consuming on there. Now, next step is to audit your expectations versus your execution. So a lot of people feel behind because their expectations were inherited and not chosen. So ask yourself, what do you expect from yourself? Who set those expectations? Was it you? Was it society? Was it your mommy? Was it your daddy? Okay. Take inventory. Take inventory of that, because you've got to step into being your own person. Trust me, I've struggled with this for years, and recognizing that, like, there's a reality that we are constantly living through other people's lenses. And until you really like break free from that, you could be living a life that you will constantly regret for the rest of your life. And if you're watching this, you don't want that life. I'm telling you right now, it sucks. And you just end up being upset with everyone else. So is there a gap between what you want and what you're actually doing? Not how hard you're working, but are you at least moving in the right direction? Are you even going towards the things that you actually want with your life? Because the problem, why I said not just how hard you're working, because you can be working your butt off and be moving in the wrong direction, brother. Trust me. Trust me. I'm telling you right now. These are things that I'm struggling with. These are things that I've already gone through. Okay. I'm not doing this just to act like I'm smart or some guru. No, these are real life struggles of my own that I'm trying to impart and share and create psychological, scientific backing for why this is so important to take into account. Now, if you are on the right path, then double down on your strategy, not just the effort, okay? Because that's the wrong way to go about, oh, I'm just going to do more. Like, no, think strategically about how you can do better and get there faster. This is a big mistake. Our brain, we're always told, work harder. You got to work harder. Or you're not working hard enough. Well, let's be real. Like the most successful people in the world, they don't work that hard. They wake up at 10 a.m. They go do yoga. They did it. And obviously they did before that. But you just have to be thinking about that ahead of time. How can you make sure that you're strategically putting yourself in a position to do the highest leverage things that are going to get you to where you want to go? The Pareto's principle, 80-20 rule, right? Back to that. So you can make your timeline faster by seeking guidance from people who are further ahead. Interview people who are where you want to be. Ask them smart questions. Repurpose the insights that they have, right? That's value that you can provide to them. Like say someone has a YouTube video. You take that YouTube video, you turn it into an article and you say, hey, here's an article that I wrote that just kind of like summarizes your thoughts. You can post this on your Medium. You can post this on your Twitter. Here's some tweets. Here's a tweet thread that you can just go ahead and copy and paste, or I can even post it for you. How about that? Build connections with people through value. Find ways to do that, okay? This will create momentum in your life. Now, step 3, design the life that you actually want. So this is really something that comes at the beginning of this process, but whatever. You just need to do it. Most people feel behind because they didn't define what ahead actually is, and they're just comparing themselves to others. So if you haven't defined where it is that you're actually going with your life, then yeah, you're going to get stuck comparing yourself to people who really they're not even where you want to be. No one is living the life that you actually want for yourself. You need to figure out what that life is for you. You need to take inventory of your values. You need to take inventory of the people that you love and that you care about and that you want to spend more time with, and figure out exactly what your life is going to look like. So sit down and architect your entire future. Where are you living? Who are you around? What are you doing every day? How do you feel about waking up in that life? And this right here is the most important part. How do you feel when you wake up in that life? There's a book by a man named Neville Goddard. It's called Feeling is the Secret. I highly recommend it. This is the thing that will change everything for you, is when you start to feel the emotions of living the life that you want to live and staying in that state constantly. Living that life is really hard to do because things are going to throw you off. But when you can at least just practice that for 5 minutes a day of feeling the feelings of being the person that you want to be, you will move yourself in that direction at a rapid pace. Okay. Now, I appreciate you watching this. If you want more information like this, be sure to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments down below exactly how you feel about this. I'm going to continue to do these. And by the way, there should be a link in the description for you to join the newsletter, where I'm going to be releasing more stuff like this and also give you some exclusive insights into how I'm using this stuff in my life as well. And other than that, it's the Inner Operator, and I'll see you next time.